almost tricked me, where he's basically saying, I'm not going to play late game with you, mate, because it's just too freaking annoying. I don't care enough. What we do know is that he cares more than enough today. Today, he will do whatever is necessary to win. In the bottom left side of Team Liquid, we're looking at the main base of the Polish Zerg, Elazer.
And he faces off against the Blue Protoss in the Northeast, representing Psystorm Gaming. He is MaxPax. And that's what I was thinking, Kev, too, because the expectations as well, people putting a little bit of pressure on Elazer going into that upper bracket. I mean, he had such a dominant run in his group. And, you know, I know we talk about best of threes, and obviously he was kind of guaranteed to get out of the group pretty early on. But I mean, you don't just take a cheeky series off of Raynor. You don't just beat every single person in your group losing just one map and then expect to have to play for your life this early in the tournament. So while he has this opportunity to redeem himself and move up, he's not going to have that second life anymore. And that's definitely one of the things I wouldn't have guessed would happen at the beginning of the playoff stage.
Nope, it's kind of funny how it all works out sometimes. Elazer was obviously very happy after he got the dub against Raynor. Raynor was definitely very unhappy with that result. He didn't just let go of it. But at that point, Raynor just sat in my living room for 3 hours. He's like, I want to see the bracket, want to see the bracket, want to see the bracket. And when the bracket was released, Raynor was obviously, oh my god, this is so good. He was incredibly happy that he was not on the side of Clem and Cero. And Elazer, despite the fact that he won the group, he was on that side of the bracket. So in a weird way, he got punished for it. But then that didn't even come into play, since he did lose to Skillers, who is just a very good Protoss as well. Skillers and MaxPax are really making life a bit harder on Showtime when it comes to who is the best Protoss in Europe. For years to go, years straight, it was like, that Showtime, that Showtime, that Showtime. Over the last few months, Nate, it really has been up in the air. And on some moments, it is Showtime. On other moments, it definitely looks like it is this man, the Prince. And sometimes it even looks like it's Skillers, because he too can reach an incredibly high level.
Yeah, the Protoss players in general really stepped it up this tournament. I think that's been very fun to watch, especially since, as you mentioned, we've kind of moved away from that meta game that a lot of people had complaints about. Has me excited as well for Showtime's possible run down the line, as we'll get to see him later today. But do we have any expectations for PvZ on in and out then, or is this just going to mostly be dictated by the tech that MaxPax goes for? Should we see a Stargate soon, you think?
Well, it's too late. I think it is definitely too late for that, unless he wants to do some very weird slow adapt into Oracle attack. But I have the feeling that MaxPax is switching it up. Maybe MaxPax was worried about Elazer doing something very cheeky in the first game, because opening up with 3 gateways like this is pretty much the safest thing you can do, given the way that pro gamers like to open. It's already a bit different. I was like, normally you'd see oracles, but I was like, there is a chance we'll see quick glaives, and I think this will still indeed be glaives. But I think it's kind of funny how MaxPax went about it, where he delayed the Twilight, and obviously has a slightly later robot than normal too, but he has access to these gateways a bit earlier. This is definitely going to throw the timings off a little bit to what we are normally seeing.
Very interesting then. So I guess, I mean, it's a couple of Adepts still has that Stalker at the front within the wall, but it's not really a clear indication of where he's going to go. So I suppose that the Twilight Council is going to give us the answer, and it's resonating glaive Adepts, Roddy. I feel like of the players that we've seen do this type of push, MaxPax has not been one of them. So that has me a little bit excited and curious to see how Elazer is going to respond. I mean, did he see the shades all moving out? Well, he's going to see a Twilight Council being chrono boosted, but this Overlord seeing 5 Adepts with that, I think, starts to paint the picture.
Yeah, but what's even more interesting is that we now have 3 extra gateways going down in his main base, so it's going to be 6 gate resonating glaive Adepts. These Adepts are going to shade into the main base. Elazer has made 1 Spore Crawler. That's obviously not going to come in very handy. It does not have a Roach one yet, does not have a Baneling Nest, and the longer we are pulling away drones and we're trying to get on top of these Adepts, MaxPax could even recall. I kind of feel like he needs to recall right here, right now. Oh no, he's going to try to shade out. But this is kind of silly, because now he's going to end up losing 4 or even 5. Yeah, this wasn't good. He actually should have recalled. If he would have recalled, he would have been fine. But nobody ever wants to lose 4 Adepts while following it up with even more Adepts.
Yeah, he traded 5 Adepts for 1 drone, Kev. Definitely not what he was looking for. And I think that when you're talking about adding those gateways, he's got 6 warp gates, but that's a whole warp in worth of units that just died. So an astute observation, the Prism is going to come in. for the follow-up. There are still a lot of adepts now. He does have resonating glaives, and there's still no Roachborn, but this has been a lot of time to get the queens out as well. Elazer, excuse me, has been building a couple of more, and being able to bring the rest towards the front certainly helps, but is MaxPax going to full commit here? That's a very dangerous move to be making.
Yeah, but it does kind of make sense since the Roachborn isn't done yet. He could even kill the Roachborn. If he kills the Roachborn, this is almost straight up game over, because Elazer thought it was over after picking up the first few adepts. He's like, nobody is ever going to lose 4 adepts, followed up with more adepts. I thought there was an Overlord scout, and he actually did scout all these extra gateways in the main base. I am so confused that Elazer just was not ready for the second wave at all. He thought he was out of the woods. He's not. Spinecrawler falls, and Elazer is just in a ridiculous amount of trouble here, Nate. He is going to build a couple of roaches eventually, but it's going to take a little while. MaxPax gets on top of the Spinecrawler in the main base too. Does need to be a little bit careful because he's now in the middle of all the queens. Transfuse Elazer, he does not, as he's busy microing elsewhere. Yeah, this is kind of GG.
And even MaxPax doing the lift up drop micro with those adepts on that third base with the prism. And Kev, I didn't think it was going to end up like this to start this match off, but MaxPax kind of kicking it a little 2018 Neeb styles, what it reminds me of, seeing all these adepts just brutalizing his opponent. Now, MaxPax didn't follow up with an expansion behind this, but he is getting Dark Templar saying, okay, well, the tech is still not there. There's no Spore Crawler in the natural, so the Prism is going to die, but those DTs are ripping the queens to pieces now.
Yep, there is a Spore in the main. The adepts could go for that, but if I was the DTs, just slice up a couple drones in the natural, then kill that Spore Crawler, and Elazer knows it. The writing is on the wall for this one. GG gets called. MaxPax, despite the fact that he honestly had a poor decision in the early game by letting that many adepts die, while his follow-up was even more adepts, gets a very easy and quick 1-0 lead. And that's honestly a bit sloppy by Elazer, because if there's no Overlord Scout, I'm like, okay, this was a bit unnecessary, but these things could happen. But he scouted in the main base. He saw all the extra gateways go down. It's just, he must have read it as something else, like maybe Zealot Archon follow-up or something. I have no idea. But yeah, MaxPax wins despite the fact that he donates 4 adepts very early on.
Had to be that, right? Just thinking, okay, MaxPax is going to try and fake this. He wants me to think that he's being really aggressive, but he's not exactly that kind of player. And MaxPax showing, hey, it's a best of 5. I'm going to come out swinging. I'm going to put you on the back foot, because I think if you come into this from his perspective, you know, Elazer is, whether he's questioning himself or not, you know, did just drop a series to a Protoss player, and has probably been, like you said, Kev, trying to look at things that he could patch up or fix up since yesterday. And, you know, that's not really enough time to make a full development. So MaxPax is like, I'm just going to bring crazy amounts of pressure, you know, borderline all in, right? And just kill you. And Elazer tripped up early in this. So our Protoss player, the Prince, starts up 1-0.
Yep, and he didn't even really show a lot there. All that he showed was, yeah, I'm willing to make some adepts and I'm willing to be aggressive, but it's a small map. Now we're loading into Cosmic Sapphire, a much bigger map, where I do absolutely expect MaxPax to go back to those oracles that he's very good with. Honestly, a very weird game to start the day off with. This man can't possibly be happy. He had such a good run in the group stage, went 7-0 in series, 14-1 in maps. But so far in the playoffs, he is 1-4. He needs to turn the tide real quick. This is Team Liquid's Elazer.
He faces off against the blue Protoss player in the Northwest, representing Psystorm Gaming. He is MaxPax.
And you know what's so funny, Nate? If MaxPax would have actually recalled the adepts, which normally would absolutely be the correct play, or he would have shaded out immediately and the movement would have been a bit better, that he gets out there with 4 out of 5 adepts and whatnot, there is a good chance that Elazer does drop a Roach Warren a bit quicker, and that Elazer is going to be a lot more wary of the follow-up. But yeah, nobody expects a Protoss to attack again with Resonating Glaive Adepts after losing that many Adepts early on. That's not something that happens on this level, but it happened this time around.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I wonder then, it's like that almost reverse bait situation where it's like, oh, you got all my Adepts. Well, there's no way a follow-up would be able to kill you, and it kind of can put you in that weird false sense of security, even if it seems like the mathematically correct play is to bring the units back. You know, that's the beautiful part about StarCraft, is those mind games do come into play when you have guys that are at this high of a level, looking for every advantage possible, because it's, you know, those are the little differences that add up to a win or a loss. And I think that you make a great point, by the way, as we come on to Cosmic Sapphire, because this map is huge and we get so many crazy long games. Just the way that it stretches from that southwest to the northeast, you've got almost every game big armies that get split right across both sides, and it makes it usually quite dynamic and exciting.
I'm just kind of flustered by that first game, especially since Elazer is a play that's not particularly known to do a whole lot of Overlord scouting, but this time around he did second Overlord in the main base, and he saw some extra gateways morph, and yeah, I have no idea what happened there. Maybe he just completely forgot that he didn't have a roach one, right? There is a chance that maybe he thought he dropped it a lot earlier, and then by the time that he saw that prism and all the extra depths, he's like, I'm ready to make roaches. Oh my god, I don't have a roach one. Like, that could be it as well. I don't know. I don't know.
He went to press the R key and nothing happened.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? Where you think you can build a certain unit and then you cannot because you forgot something very important. It is going to be Stargate though this time around. That cannot come as a surprise to Elazer. If it doesn't come as a surprise to us, I'm sure that he's done his homework. And now it really comes down to the dance, the unit movement. In the first 5 minutes, Elazer cannot find himself in a spot where he loses 6, 7, 8 drones and doesn't even kill an Oracle. If that happens, he is once more in a world of trouble, but he will know that. Sweet adept movement here by MaxPax, by the way. I'm definitely enjoying this.
He's constantly zipping in and out, looking for an opportunity to get that drone kill, and just trading the shields on both of these so far. Like you said, Roddy, the control has been very strong out of MaxPax. He's coming in sharp today as that Oracle is underway. I'm gonna shade back home, and just one little cheeky drone, but also gets basically a full read on everything that Elazer is up to, which we know at the moment is he's just droning up, getting his queens out. Nothing super crazy. The Oracle is going to be that big indicator, though, if he starts to get some damage done. And like you said, Roddy, whether or not it's able to escape unscathed. The Zerglings do go right underneath after checking the tower. So if he didn't know, he 100% knows now. And these things will try to poke the third, but I think the Adepts are tucked in pretty nicely over here.
So this is where it's very important for Elazer to have the queens in the right position. Oracle is going to try, though. Pulsar Beam activated. 2 drones will get out of there, but it's a decent amount of damage. It's not perfect for Elazer, but that's something he can sort of live with. But now he needs to make damn certain that he stays on top of the Oracle movement when number 2 shows up, which is now, and even number 3 is on the way. And don't forget about the 2 Adepts. We can't focus only on the Oracles. And I'm actually not sure if he saw the Adepts there. I hope he did, and it seems like he did. Yeah, now he definitely did with the links. Because sometimes only worrying about the Oracles can be a problem too. If the 2 Adepts suddenly make it into a middle line. But with 1 queen and the other queen's a bit out of position, MaxPax will find additional damage. And this is exactly what we're talking about, Nate. So far, 7 drones have gone down. No units have gone down on the side of MaxPax yet. Make it 8 drones, make it 9 drones, and make it probably 10. No, that one doesn't go off. But still 9 drones so far. It's not the start that Elazer was dreaming of.
Now, when you're able to get that reset to the 50 versus 50 workers, and the next wave of drones finishes for Elazer, and he's still not that much further ahead, we know that Zerg has to kind of choose if you're spending that larva on the economy, trying to get something out to pressure the third base, but losing that many drones this early on just kind of takes away his ability to get out on the map. And MaxPax made that third Oracle, like you pointed out. So with Blink and +1 starting, I mean, 3 Oracles can still be quite terrifying. If any of these queens are walking around by themselves, we might just see him try to burst those down, and possibly a little distraction. He's going to go to clear some creep using 2 of the Oracles, but that third one did check the gold base and is going to come back.
Yep. Elazer dropped his Roach Warren at the third base. Now, I may hope that will never become an issue, but I don't know. I would have preferred to see that Roach Warren being tucked into the natural or into the main base, because I can really see this becoming a target eventually. If it's not against the first push, it could be a bit later into the game if MaxPax makes it up to charge and starts wiping in a bunch of Zealots. As Elazer is going to try to go for a little counterattack with links. No units here, at least at first, but good pull there. We cannot lose this hatchery if we are on Team Elazer, and that's obviously something he knows. Overcharge has been activated to keep these probes safe. This battery, I was going to say, might fall, but in the end it won't fall. And that is a decent amount of links going down. Elazer needs to save this hatch, Nate. If he loses the hatchery, he is in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, and it's a dicey situation that MaxPax is kind of dancing around. He's using stasis traps to try and cover for the stalkers before Blink is done, so he doesn't have that micro potential quite yet. First trap is going to go off, grabs a decent amount of the lings. The second one only going to get 4, but continues to stagger backwards, and the oracles themselves do quite a number on those zerglings, as that +1 melee is coming through for Elazer. Blink and +1 will be done for MaxPax. So then we get to see the stalkers do a little bit more action. A lot of gateway units out on the map, Roddy, is what we like to see in PvZ.
Yep, that was actually very cool micro by both players. Elazer trying to send 1 ling at a time forward to activate the stasis. MaxPax saw what was happening, so he just picked them up before they got in range of the stasis. Eventually, Elazer had enough of it, said, all right, I'll send a few more because I just want to get rid of this stasis trap. Elazer's got a lot of lings, and they are going to get +1 melee in the near future, and they're going to go for that 4th base of MaxPax. MaxPax was already anticipating this move, so he is more than fine at home. Lings are going to come in from both sides now. There is a big stasis though. Pulsar Beam should get activated here, because Lings with this much surface area on the stalkers will eventually start doing well. One of the oracles getting picked up from the other side. That overall I think went pretty damn good for Elazer.
Yeah, it's able to get some of those powerful units off the field, like you said, put pressure on, kill an oracle. And during all of this, he actually did end up taking that gold base. So if he's able to stabilize, then there's an opportunity for a lot of resources to start coming his way. And I think that works pretty nicely with this heavy link style that he does enjoy so much. Is it's going to punch through one of the stalkers in the natural wall. MaxPax will just simply warp in another to block it. But look how many zerglings he's got running around, Roddy. 67 and 24 more on the way. He really does not want to let MaxPax feel comfortable moving out until he has a lot of Archons.
Exactly. And that's why picking up one of these oracles was a very big deal. The lings are going to show themselves here. It doesn't know exactly when these Archons are going to finish up. So I can't blame Elazer for not fully going for it there. I mean, the style that Elazer is playing without an infestation pit, without a hive, obviously is putting him in a spot where he needs to start finding big victories real soon, because he is economically behind Nate. Even with the gold, I'd say he is economically in a bit of a pickle. And MaxPax's army is going to scale a little bit better than Elazer's army. This is where these oracles are so handy as well. You just drop a revelation, make it a bit easier for you as a Protoss to get your units in the correct spot. Baneling run by the top side of the map will connect with a couple of workers and blow up the cannon and the batteries. So that's a decent little start for Elazer. But he needs more, and it needs to happen in the next minute.
Yeah, and this is a situation that gets progressively more difficult too, as we'll start to see those Baneling run-bys come through with that +2 attack. But whether he gets his own tech leveled up beyond that is going to be very important as well. 10 probes get picked off, a lot of lings on that northeast expansion, and he's setting up quite a few to try and potentially make a move on that natural if he can. But that's where the revelation just becomes so nice, as he still has that awareness, and we know that stalkers. So does he kind of feel comfortable just throwing the Banes into them? I guess he's kind of back and forth on that one. Lings are going to try and grab from the other side though, as the Banelings look for the juiciest connections possible.
Overcharge.
Yeah, that overcharge helped a lot
big.
too.
So big that there's no way that Elazer is going to get on top of that battery, but at least there is still a bit of weakness in the top side, and that means that this attack has not quite ended yet. Oracle should activate Pulsar Beam. They will. Is it in time to save the Nexus? That's going to be awfully close. It is in time to save the Nexus. Are you joking? But with a few extra units, hopefully for Elazer, he can still take out that base, but he did lose a lot there, and MaxPax is even feeling confident enough to counterattack a bit. But if I was MaxPax right now, I'd get some batteries real quick and start healing up that Nexus again.
Yeah, that's you don't cut it much closer than that. 72 health, and I mean the Pulsar Beam, like you were mentioning, got turned on at the last second. These Zealots trying not to all just yeet themselves into the Banelings, but those are +2, so you just need one to reach the probes. MaxPax is going to send everything to the northeast base, and Elazer says, "Okay, I'll trade this for batteries and a little bit of the defenses left over." As another huge swell of Zerglings comes out, while MaxPax, is he finally gonna be able to try and make a real serious attack here, Roddy?
I mean, he's doing perfectly fine. If I was him, I wouldn't really change a whole lot, because Elazer is not tacking up. The units that Elazer is currently working with, that is all he will have, and it's a decent amount of money in the bank. But MaxPax feels that it's time to test the waters, as Elazer is going to try to make another attempt for that Nexus in the top side. But his gold base is going to be in serious, dire straits, because that's a lot of Zealots. All the drones will melt. Elazer feels that he cannot get the job done at the top left, because Overcharge is going to keep that Nexus alive too. And MaxPax is just taking full control of this game, full control of this series. And so far, honestly, Elazer does not look like he has the tools today to defeat MaxPax, because in this game, not even that much happened, up to the point where Elazer already put himself in a very problematic spot. Might get a decent fight here with all the roaches, but he needs more than decent fights, Nate. He needs phenomenal fights, and he's not getting them.
Yeah, being able to keep that base up was just so huge for MaxPax, as he's just playing around this incredibly aggressive style of Elazer, like you said, and he has not tanked up. He has the lair, but all he's been building a Roachling Bane, absolutely nothing else. And you can build a lot of units with this type of composition, but if the Protoss doesn't overextend, if the Protoss doesn't get caught and you can't pick off those bases, then it's just an army that has diminishing returns over time. Those upgraded Archons rip the Lings to pieces, and I mean, now we're seeing Immortals come into play, and those Roaches are going to become a lot less useful.
Yep, and those two Oracles still doing a great job and just kind of controlling the center of the map. MaxPax, even for a split second, they fired up Glaives. I was like, what? Nobody really gets Glaives in situations like this. 30 minutes into the game, it's not a very expensive upgrade, so if you would really want it, you can probably sneak it in. But right now, the biggest problem are the Roaches and the Ravages, and that's where the Archons, Immortals, and Stalkers should do totally fine. They don't need any Glaive Adepts to back them up. The Banelings will finish up morphing real soon. They'll get some decent connections, but it's just not good enough for Elazer. He knows it. He needed so much more. He needed to be completely overrunning MaxPax at this point. And MaxPax is even confident enough to fight away from all those batteries and all those cannons. And I think that really says it all. This game is close to ending. And the first series of the day so far is a bit of a one-sided affair.
Yeah, absolutely brutal control out of MaxPax. He has just been looking so sharp, and Elazer's tried a couple of different things, but just nothing has really worked. That pressure right in the first game, everything just kind of knocked him off very quickly. He did have some opportunities in this one, but MaxPax is just all over it. Now the Zealots hit that gold base again, and you got to run your army so far to try and reinforce that, but you need every unit to stop this primary army. And even the Broodling's getting caught trying to chase this, as he's got backup plans for his backup plans.
Yeah, few more Banelings trying to connect with probes. +2 Banes are good, but MaxPax is bulletproof defensively. And Elazer is going to grab the last pennies that he's working with and maybe try to make one more final attack. But at this point, he knows. And I can guarantee you, if this was a smaller tournament or a ladder game, Elazer would already be out of it. Because 61 drones, no bank, 143 supply, and only Roaches, Ravages, and Banes. That is never going to get the job done. And Elazer definitely knows that deep down inside. Tries to get on top of a couple of the static defenses, but there's a Zergling for every Zealot, and that's something that MaxPax will take all day, every day, and it's not something that Elazer is going to be very happy with.
No, absolutely not. The most primary thing here is keep the Immortals alive, to keep blasting away at the Roaches. Stalkers continue to kite, and the Archons shut down Lings. GG is called. MaxPax up 2-0 now, and he is looking fantastic today, Roddy. Just very clean, going for some aggressive plays, and even just thinking back to, you kind of painted a beautiful picture at the start. Okay, you want to lose 2 drones, that's like unacceptable. He can live with that. I love the way that you put it. And then the Oracles come back, and MaxPax says, yeah, I'm gonna they're all gonna survive this. They'll take some damage, but I'm gonna get another 6, 7 drones to get 2 more Adepts over to that third base for even a few more after that. And everything that MaxPax has been trying, every time he takes that shot, he hasn't missed yet, and he's looking scary.
Yep, I think MaxPax was more than happy with the early game. I think the only part where he got a bit carried away is when he lost one of the 3 Oracles and he was forced to recall these Stalkers out. At that point, it's still a perfectly fine game, of course. MaxPax likes where the game is heading, and Elazer knows that he's on the clock, so it's about that first moment where the Zerg maxes out, because especially Elazer didn't have the craziest economy ever, wasn't teching up to Hive, there wasn't a strong follow-up. So the first time you max out as a Zerg, you're looking for cash money connections with those Banelings. You're looking to completely destroy a base, take out all the pylons, static defenses. But that overcharge was incredibly well timed. And Elazer, for a split second, is like, I'm already committed, so I gotta go for it. But there was a wave of Stalkers, there were Archons, and Elazer couldn't get on top of that battery. And you're just never winning a fight like that in range of battery overcharge. And I think at that point, it was just MaxPax's game to lose.
Yeah, very, very tough situation, especially considering that, as on the bigger maps, you usually feel a little bit more safe to play out the macro game. But I mean, at the same time, Elazer was also playing a very aggressive style too. He wasn't necessarily trying to wait up for that tech, but whether MaxPax would have let him or not is perhaps a discussion for a different day. But we're going into Data C for game number 3, and MaxPax possibly looking for another swift GG here, Kev.
Yeah, he will probably do more of the same. This is also a very good map to go for the oracles. He could, of course, switch it up. Maybe he's got something special planned for this map specifically. We can't possibly know that. What we do know is that this man in the bottom left side really needs to turn things around. So solid in the group stage, 7-0 in series, but the playoffs are not working out for him. Can he find a second life in these playoffs? The Polish Zerg representing Team Liquid, it's Elazer.
And his opponent currently leading 2-0 in this best of 5. The Blue Protoss from Psystorm Gaming. He's MaxPax.
Leading 2-0 is always fantastic, but I think the way that he got there, Nate, that's got to give him so much confidence, man. Like, yeah, there was that close call with the Nexus in that second game, but even if that Nexus would have gone down, I still like where the game was going for him. Like, that would slow him down a little bit, would give Elazer more time to enjoy, at that point, his superior economy and maybe make something of it, maybe find a transition somewhere. But other than that Nexus almost falling, I really don't think that MaxPax was in any trouble in that game.
No, I think I agree with you. Like, if he loses that base, it's annoying. It doesn't really take away what he'd already accomplished in that game, but maybe just makes it a little harder for him to throw those units to the side, like to the bottom left base. But
yeah, exactly.
We've got a much easier setup for bringing the attacks, a little bit more of a direct path towards the opponent on Data C. So for MaxPax, I do like the Stargate, like you were mentioning. You know, this one's kind of a gimme for it. You have all those big angles to attack from the outside, and the watchtowers on the corners. You can also keep those out of the Zerg's hands if you have some oracles patrolling the map too. But for Elazer, Roddy, what adjustment is there to make? What's the approach here? Because MaxPax is just he's getting so much damage done with those early harass units that we talk about. Like, you just can't take those hits, but is there anything else that can really be done here? Because if he loses another 8 drones, you know, dude, does the choice of strategy for MaxPax matter all that much?
No, at that point it doesn't. I really think for Elazer, it just goes back to, yeah, you got to be rock solid in the early game, and this is something that the high-level Zergs practice time and time again. And yeah, I think you mentioned it once throughout this season as well. It really makes you appreciate a Lambo or a Rainer or a Cyril when you look at their early game against very good Protoss players that are trying every single base with the Oracles. Oracles dive in, nope, denied. Try a different base, denied. Queens are always where they are supposed to be. And it's not like the most exciting thing for us as spectators to watch. It's like, oh, look at the Queens in the correct position. But it really does make all the difference in the high level. And Elazer needs to make sure that the Queens are where they are supposed to be, because he's just not going to defeat a player like MaxPax if he keeps losing close to 10 drones before minute 6.
Yeah, could not agree more. The Adept does get into the main base. Queen is pushing it away. Let's see if Elazer can avoid taking any hits there. Does get a cheeky drone kill and will be able to escape. And it's those little things adding up over time, Kev. That's what we're talking about. Is it's a drone here, it's a drone there, and you're trying to leverage that larva. You want to push it all into workers. You don't want to have to build anything else so you can get that economic lead. But meanwhile, MaxPax is back home chronoing him out, and he's doing very well keeping up in terms of the worker count with Elazer so far. Now that Oracle comes through, and this is going to be a defining moment in the game. He needs to prevent these Oracles from dealing damage to him if he wants to get onto an even keel for the mid game. And we haven't seen what that looks like yet in this series, and that's because MaxPax has been devastating with his early harass.
Very aggressive queen positioning there by Elazer, but I like it. He put him pretty far forward. He obviously knows that at this point it's impossible for MaxPax to have 2 oracles. So he's like, this is the only oracle, and I want to make sure that you don't even think about going into my main. That worked out. It could have been painful if it came in from the top side, but Elazer has done a good job, I think, in spreading out his overlords to make it a bit easier for himself to figure out where these oracles are coming from. And at this point, he can work with a few links. So far, so good, but this is where oracles can start once one-shotting drones, and this is where it's really, really important. Elazer is on top of things. He only has one spore crawler. That one spore is in the natural. There are no queens here. MaxPax sees it, and he will go for it. This is where sometimes it's hard to not get nervous as a Protoss. And MaxPax did definitely make a little mistake there, as he was attacking the spore crawler and not what he wanted.
Yeah, I think he could have gotten up maybe 5 or 6 drones there, but a couple of them just take that one hit. So an unusual little slip up there by MaxPax will give Elazer a moment to breathe. I mean, you still don't want to lose any drones, but 2 versus 5, nice difference there. As MaxPax actually is going into charge this game. So we've had him open Resonating Glaives, we've had him open into Blink, and now we get to see him go straight into charge. So whether this is for a big attack on 3 bases or maybe just some Prism harass while he takes a 4th, MaxPax is continuing to mix it up and be a little unpredictable in this match.
Yep, and I'm very happy to see that Elazer has dropped a Roach War. Now, there is an Evo Chamber finishing up, and I do still think that this is going to be for +1 melee, but that's not the end of the world. It would only be very bad news for Elazer if he doesn't have a Roach War and he keeps on making links and he doesn't have a Baneling Nest, because I think what MaxPax is going to do here is exactly what he did in one of the games against Raynor. And he defeated Raynor with it in the European Pro Tour Weekly. He shows 4 or 5 Stalkers, he shows Oracles. Obviously, that previous game is fresh in your mind, right? Stalkers, Blink, that's such a good combo. But then instead of Stalkers, it's actually a lot of Zealots that are going to run to the other side of the map. But I can't imagine that Elazer hasn't seen that. I can't imagine that Elazer hasn't heard us talk about it. So he's got to be somewhat familiar with it. Finds one Stalker there, makes extra drones. We'll see a couple of extra Stalkers showing up. But these Stalkers don't have Blink yet. And the moment you only see 3 or 4 Stalkers, I think hopefully the alarm bells will go off. Look at MaxPax. He's making extra Stalkers. He is trying to sell this really convincingly. But the problem is he's done this trick before. I don't think Elazer is going to fall for it.
It's a good force field, though, on the Lings in that 3rd base. But with that 4th cancellation and getting the read on this, Roddy, that's very big. Baneling Nest has started up. Roach Speed as well. So if it is just a huge amount of charged Zealots that are barreling towards him,
yeah, and it's a lot of Zealots.
He's gonna have an answer for it soon, but it is a lot of Zealots, and even if he does get the Banelings out as he's arriving, they won't have speed. So let's see what MaxPax can get done, because the sooner he gets there, the more difficult it will be to stop this.
Oh, you definitely don't want to lose all these queens. MaxPax obviously knows that he is on the clock, so he's just going to absolutely send it. We have 11 Banelings morphing, 10 Roaches on the way. The problem is that these Roaches come in from different angles. I don't think Elazer here is as ready as he could have been, but MaxPax doesn't know once these Banelings started morphing. But that is such a great fight for the Zealots there on the top side against the Lings, against the Queens. Now MaxPax needs to start splitting. Can he split like a Terran? Well, he splits pretty well, and I have the feeling that this is already a successful attack. I don't think Elazer is going to die with all the extra Roaches that he's got coming in, but he's definitely taking a lot of damage, and he's lost every queen, Nate. Literally every queen.
So that's taking away a lot of his ability to recover from this attack too. Once those injects wear off on the hatchery, he's not being able to get more. 5 queens are being built, but that's also not a cheap unit to replace when you have to rebuild 5 of them at a time. Elazer does not want to let MaxPax save anything from this, and he would love to deny that 2nd attempt on the 4th base, so the Roaches and Lings will continue to barrel through as the charge lots come back in onto these Roaches. But if they can tank, I mean, those Lings have +1 attack, so their damage output isn't terrible if they're not getting ripped to pieces by those Zealots. And Elazer really trying not to let MaxPax get comfortable. But that 4th is done. Let's see if he can protect it. The Zealots are going to make their way back over.
Wow, there are 17 extra Roaches on the way. If these 17 Roaches make it to the other side of the map and there are only Zealots to meet it, then obviously MaxPax is going to be in serious trouble. I love the fact that he's making extra Oracles at this point. I think it's incredibly smart. Elazer doesn't really have stuff that shoot up. Elazer lost every single queen I think he had earlier. Now he did go up to 5 again, so I guess every single hatchery just made a queen there. But this many Roaches is going to be hard to deal with. MaxPax is going to try to get a couple of Archons out. Even a Void Ray here. It's very random, but it actually makes sense. But there is a good chance it's going to be too late. Elazer is doing this of 69 drones on 8, so it's very, very important for the Polish Zerg that this next attack is a success. Because if it's not, it could be the end of his tournament.
Yeah, this is going to be everything. And the Oracles come out seeing these Banelings. Speed is just about to finish. Certainly something that you want to have. And it's hard to force field all of this. So there's going to come up. And the Banelings actually do slip between the force fields. So funneling through into the Archon. There is the overcharge coming in as well. Now the Banelings are gone. So the Zealots can continue to dive onto this with that overcharge continuing to support. And all of the Oracles, 4 of them, deal actually pretty good amount of damage, Roddy. The Void Ray comes out, but the Void Ray is more janitor duty rather than having to save the day.
As the observer just showed up there, the floodgates were open. If these links make it into the natural or the main base, they could have been all right. Instead, they're going to find these +2 Zealots near a different battery. And that was not good enough, mate. Elazer needed more. Elazer knows that he needs more. He's going to make another big wave of Roaches, Links, and Banelings. But these Oracles are just gathering up more energy. The Void Ray count is going up. I love the fact that we see Void Rays here. It's so random. It feels so silly, but it just makes sense. This is the old school RTS logic, right? You have no anti-air. I make air unit. It will be good. Couple of Banelings with +2 can also be good. Get a couple Stalkers. It's something, but Elazer needs more victories in the near future, and he knows it.
Yeah, and this is, again, very similar to the setup that we had in Game 2. MaxPax maybe hasn't gotten to this point as cleanly, but he has so much that can't really be answered by this army that even though Elazer has overwhelming numbers, it's still very difficult to see the path forward. The Void Rays, they're always going to be able to fight this army pretty easily because there's just nothing that shoots up. It's very low tech. Ling, Roach, Ravager, Bane, and without some nasty biles, I don't really know where he's going to find the purchase he's looking for against this army. The Zealots get into a good choke here on the 5th base. Oracles will come to back it up. Should still be able to force the kill. I think that's a straight kill. Wow.
Yep, because there's another big fight happening this time around. Elazer is in range of the battery. Finally, he can take a fight without a battery. And he's actually doing quite good here. Obviously, these Void Rays are going to do their thing. But there are plenty of Links and Roaches left. But now MaxPax is going to send in the extra units. Stalkers have Blink. Queens coming in from the left side. MaxPax needs to micro his Void Rays. Is a little bit late in saving one of them. And this is just one hell of a battle. In the end, MaxPax will hold. Elazer still has the army supply lead. Does not want to lose his Queens here. Once more, is sending more Links to the top side of the map. This is beautiful multitasking by Elazer. He should be able to get another cancel, and if MaxPax is not paying attention, it could even be another kill. But instead, he's going to go for the battery and the cannon.
Yeah, now we're reaching that point where the kill becomes pretty significant. That's 4 Zealots for your defense warping in or, not being able to take that next base. So Elazer continuing to bring it. I think that not losing too many workers on the backside of the attack is probably the most important thing for him. MaxPax has only killed 7 drones this whole game. So even with those run-bys, he hasn't really been able to kill the workers. And the Queens do get the Void Ray, so he's bringing that anti-air support as slowly as possible, but it is coming. And Oracles go into the Queens. They're all going to die. The rest of them are out of energy, and the Roaches do kill that 4th base for MaxPax, which actually slows down the warp-ins here, too, on the last of these guys. So Elazer will strike back Rotterdam with some very, very aggressive multi-prong attacks, and he gets a win on the board.
That was really cool. And I think you can really see the night and day difference between taking a fight near a battery that has overcharge running for the majority of the fight, or actually taking that battery out finally, because that's where these Zealots die a lot quicker. That's where even these Void Rays and Oracles will fall if there's just a little bit of Queen pressure coming in from the left side. I gotta say, MaxPax is micro towards the end of that game there. A little bit sloppy, right? Kind of forgot about the Void Rays. The Oracles went off by themselves fighting the Queens, but I think Elazer already did the damage before. That previous attack, it was just very good. Finally took care of the battery, and that was a beautiful game. I absolutely love this build from MaxPax. I do want to touch upon this because obviously there's a lot of things happening, but I saw this build for the first time a little over a week ago. Not last Monday, but the Monday before. He did it against Raynor, made it look like, hey, it's just Oracles into Blink Stalkers, wipes in 4, 5, 6 Stalkers even, and it's like just 4 base, Stalker pressure, nothing to worry about, and suddenly, surprise, 25 Zealots show up with +1 in charge. It's really cool. It was so freaking cool that I was sad that he used it in a small online cup, right? I was like, this is not the moment you bust it out. And I spoke with Raynor about it, and I was like, man, he bamboozled you. And Raynor, not a man to admit that, he's like, yeah, he did. He's like, that was actually really smart. But, and then Raynor said it before I even said it, he's like, he shouldn't have done it at this moment. He's like, if he does that in DreamHack the very first time, it will work. I guarantee you it works against anyone who plays +1. But now people know, right? And now they keep it in the back of their mind. And that's why Elazer, even though he wasn't totally ready, I think was more ready than he would have otherwise been if this was the very first time ever that MaxPax used that strategy.
Yeah, and we've got ourselves a series here. Wasn't sure at first if it was going to just be that brutal beatdown by the Protoss, but man, Elazer doing a great job of keeping it together as he represents Team Liquid in the Northeast here to kick off this 4th map. And a nice little banger of a match to start off with. Roddy could be a good turnaround story for him if he can equalize this one. Things get crazy. But MaxPax has busted out a different build just about every game as well. So he hasn't really been that predictable. And I wonder if he's going to start to catch on to this very heavy Ling, Roach, Bane style that Elazer's been able to work with the last 2 games now.
And we don't often talk about the nerfs because obviously MaxPax, even for us, is just a bit of a mystery, right? And we don't know too much about how he goes into certain games. He did mention a few times when I did some audio interviews with him, he did mention the nerfs and he felt that he was shaky and he couldn't really micro. In that last game, I felt that we could see that, Nate. There were a couple of misclicks with the Voids, with the Oracles, not canceling the Nexus, when there wasn't even a crazy amount of stuff happening. Maybe MaxPax is feeling it, right? Where he's like, okay, I'm close to making it into the next round. This would obviously be a very big victory for him as well. And maybe the nerfs will affect him. Elazer is a veteran. He shouldn't feel too much of that. But I think the main thing that Elazer is feeling is his strong dislike for Protoss. But hopefully that won't bother him too much.
Yeah, well, it's a tough competition. We're seeing people do so many weird things too. I mean, we've had Protoss players in this tournament going for that 4-minute fleet beacon double Tempest Rush, Roddy. I can understand some of the frustration with the Protoss builds that have been thrown at you. We've seen pretty much everything in this tournament, which to me is ideal.
Yeah, I have the feeling that this time around MaxPax will just play Stargate into Blink again. That is definitely what I'm expecting. It's a really good style on this map. It's very doable for a Protoss to start stabilizing on 4 bases. I hope that Elazer has something special for us. I don't want to see the exact same thing as what we saw on Cosmic Sapphire, because on that map, you even have that gold to work with, and it still didn't work out. Now, of course, there were moments where he lost a bit too much against the Oracles and the Adepts, and maybe that first fight near the Overcharge wasn't great. But I don't know if that's the way to defeat MaxPax. So I'd love to see something crazy of Elazer, but I have no idea what I'd love to see. Maybe Hydra Ling Bane. I'm feeling some Hydra Ling Bane.
Yeah, I could do that. The Banelings and the Lings have definitely been a fun side of it for Elazer. I don't know if that plays into a little bit with the mutas that we were talking about from the previous series against Skillis, but he has not even thought about going past that that 1.5 level tech that he's used so far in this series. The Adepts kill a couple of Lings and just get out of the base though.
Yep, all 6 actually. That's very good. Elazer didn't really have much of a choice there. He kind of had to fight it, because if he doesn't fight it, the doors were wide open for the main base, and then the first few drones could have gone down, and that would be even a lot more problematic. Nice queen movement. This is exactly what we were talking about, right? They want to be where they are supposed to be before the Oracle shows up. MaxPax is still going to try, does find 1 drone. That kind of stuff is a little bit inevitable, but this is stuff that we can live with. But now you want to make sure you don't open the doors for this Adept to come back. There is no Spore Crawl, and Nate, I loved it at first. I don't love this part. Elazer with another horrific start. Obviously, great play by MaxPax, pulling the Queens out of position with the Adepts, but Elazer did not have to send the Queens there.
The big difference in that last game between the first 2, Roddy, we did not have a devastating amount of damage done to Elazer's economy, and he was able to grind that one out and get his first dub, but 11 drones killed at that 4.5-minute mark is, well, it's just brutal. No Spore Crawler, 33 drones to 44 probes, and he'd like to do something about this 3rd base, but if he doesn't kill this and these Lings die, then all of a sudden you're worried about getting attacked again, and this just goes from bad to worse. So it does get the pylon. The 1 Adept comes by on its own. Can't do too much. A single Oracle will turn on Pulsar Beam, and that 3rd is going to be okay. But I guess getting rid of 1 of the Adepts is nice, but all he can really do back home is just crank out drones and try to catch up.
Yep, it's really odd that MaxPax does not cancel that pylon either. You'd think, once more, there is barely anything happening, and these are mistakes that, against the likes of Zero and Reino, you're absolutely going to get punished for. This time around, MaxPax is going to be able to get away with it because his start was sweet out of Proto's Sweet Baby Dreams, or straight out of Proto's Sweet Baby Dreams. They just don't get much better than that. Elazer is just going to do whatever the hell he can at this point, try to catch up economically, and try to slowly turn this into a game. This is not the start that the Polish Zerg was looking for. He's going to try to go up to 4 bases. MaxPax will deny that immediately with the triple Oracle. That's still very healthy. Oh man, a 9 worker lead, and it could be more. Adepts could go for that drone, but I think MaxPax is busy defending at home against the Lynx, but that also means that maybe he can get a few more drone kills, and so far, that is exactly what's happening. The target fire, absolutely perfect. Adepts in the, Oracles in the main base, grabbed a couple of extra workers, and Elazer is getting a little bit of damage here, Nate, but this is nowhere near enough. He needs so much more. The only thing he can hope for is that MaxPax drains his oracles from all the energy, and then maybe the Lynx can find magical damage.
And he is being forced to hold position the probes around the stalkers, trying to do a little fancy micro to protect himself, but the oracles are back, and got 39 drones to 63 probes. He's building nothing but Lings, Kev. There's not many other plays in the book here for Elazer to try and eke it out. He's going to start up a lair in an evolution chamber, but yeah, this is a very, very hard spot to try and come back from. And once that shield battery gets up again and the warpins are ready to protect this mineral line, then I don't really see much of a way forward for Elazer. He does try going again on the natural, but another warpin. He does get a ling through, and the oracles come over.
Yeah, he gets the Ling, and so far managed to get 5 probes during all of this, and that is something. This is all damage that normally he'd be kind of happy with. And I think we're gonna lose a few more probes here on the side of MaxPax. Nope, it's actually just the 6 probes. In this situation, it is just nowhere near enough. Elazer's 4th hatchery is at least up and running. He is still down 7 workers, doesn't have a crazy amount of NTR against the 4 oracles of MaxPax that will obviously just start gathering up energy. At least Elazer got some damage there. It gave him a tiny bit of hope, but yeah, we're just making more links. It really does feel that Elazer is banking on MaxPax being stubborn with the oracles, using Pulsar Beam a bit too much, and taking a terrible fight. But at this point, +1 is done. So MaxPax can start warping in Zealots. Even slow Zealots are going to be very good against Lynx as long as they have +1. And I just don't know what to do here. And he started to
respect this. Yeah, MaxPax has started to respect this a little bit more too. He got the cannon to back up the shield battery. He's taking his next base, but kind of recognized, like, even after that last push, Elazer first inclination, boom, another 25 links. So he's only just now building drones to get past that 53 mark, and he did get out a good amount of them. He's got 12 more on the way, but MaxPax is taking that 4th base, like you're saying. Look at this wall. Yeah, it's just lings, right? So we just keep building walls, get a bunch of gateways, and that's going to help us make more zealots. And he now has charge, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that in the future. The way that he is defensively setting himself up, he wants to move across the map without getting punished by that big backstab we know Elazer would love to do.
Yep, the Lings are going to show up in an annoying moment for MaxPax, right when MaxPax was moving to the other side of the map. Oracles have a lot of energy though, can activate Pulsar Beam, will activate Pulsar Beam, and now Elazer is going to be forced to fight these Stalkers. With 83 Lings, he should definitely have the right amount of Lings. There are a few stasis traps to worry about though. 2 out of 4 oracles are here. Elazer has a lot of money, and I don't know how he spends it actually anytime soon, because now the Queens are forced to defend. He is going to try to bust through the wall again on the left side of the map, but MaxPax can warp in units for days. Maybe eventually Elazer breaks through, but I don't really know. I mean, the Queens are not betraying the egg.
The Queens were attacking an egg, and I think the Queen does negative damage to an egg, so that's a bit unfortunate there, as they're not helping with the defense. The oracles are going to come over. The stasis trap actually gets a huge amount of the lings on the left side, so MaxPax can continue to blink towards them, as he won't have to worry about that sandwich. And I think that we're seeing here the prince right here taking that dub and knocking Elazer out. 3-1 victory for MaxPax.